Welcome everyone. So we will be discussing Indian contribution to science. This is a book which is compiled by Vigyan Bharati, and this is one of the chapters which is there for the VVM examination. Chapter 5: Plant and Animal Science in Ancient India. Ayurveda also represents life science like botany, zoology, veterinary science, and agriculture along with medicine. Plant science was known as Vriksha Ayurveda and animal science as Mriga Ayurveda. Ashwa Ayurveda and Gaja Ayurveda represent veterinary medicines for horses and elephants respectively. Agriculture was known as Krishi Shastra. Plant science in ancient India, Antiquity and continuity. Knowledge of plants and agricultural practices are documented in ancient Indian literature. Discussion on plant science can be seen in Vedic literature, the epics, and various compendia. The sources: Arthashastra of Kautilya contains a very interesting passage relating to the harvesting and management of crops and crop diseases and very many aspects of agroforestry. Brahsamhita of Varamihira, composed in the 6th century CE, has an entire chapter devoted to Vriksha Ayurveda. Agni Purana also includes a chapter on the topic. Chakrapanidatta, a commentator of the celebrated Ayurvedic text Charaka Samhita, puts forth the theory that plants have feelings and cognitive abilities. There are also independent works on the subject like Surapala's Vriksha Ayurveda and Upavana Vinoda of Sarngadhara. The legacy of Vriksha Ayurveda has also been preserved through folks traditions in oral form. The farming and tribal communities constitutes the largest repository of working knowledge of plant science in India. Surapala applied the dosa theory to plants to provide a number of recipes for plant protections and treatment, depending on the particular dosa imbalance affecting the plants. Many of the ingredients he lists have been shown to possess antimicrobial properties. Among them are milk, elephant milk at times, ghee, honey, licorice, cow urine and dung, various liquid manures, mustard, paste made of various barks and roots, asafoetida, turmeric, sesame oil, salt and ash, the flesh, fat or marrow from various animals, mammals and fish was also recommended in specific cases. The scope: Ayurvedic literature refers to plants and their classification into forest trees, other trees, shrubby plants, and herbs. Shrubby plants are either climbers or shrubs as such, and herbs are flowering and non-flowering. Flowering and non-flowering tree are also distinguished. Vriksha Ayurveda includes topics like collection, selection, and storage of seeds, germination and sowing, various techniques of plant propagation and grafting, nursing and irrigation, testing and classification of soil, selection of soil suitable for various plants, types of plants, plant manuring, pest and disease management, nomenclature and taxonomy, description and classification of plants to get varied purpose, favorable and unfavorable meteorological conditions, use of plants as indicators of weather, water and mineral as well as botanical marvels. Validation: the Indian Council of Agricultural Research (ICAR) has documented 4,879 indigenous practices in the field of traditional plant science. A set of 111 indigenous technical practices were selected and subjected to experimental testing and validation in efforts that were conducted by several ICAR institutes and state agricultural department and universities across the country. These pertain to various topics such as pest control, crop protection, farm implements, weather forecasting, etc. And it was shown that slightly more than 80% of these practices were valid and about 6% were partly valid. Vriksha Ayurveda promises many new areas of fresh researches initiatives like the study of meteorological conditions tithi nakshatra that are suitable for various agricultural operations in the cultivation of crops, increasing plant growth and yield, testing and classification of soil and use of plants as indicator for water, mineral and weather. Animal science in ancient India, antiquity and continuity. The branch of veterinary science was well developed in ancient India and was devoted to well-being of domesticated animals like cows, horses, and elephants. Earliest references can be seen in Vedic literature. Ayurveda of Salihotra is an ancient textbook of veterinary medicines that classifies horse and describes treatment for horse apart from providing accounts of anatomy. Salihotra composed many treatises on horses which were translated into Arabic, Persian, and Tibetan. A treatise on Gajar Veda devoted to elephants was composed by Palakapya, which deals with treatment of diseases afflicting elephants. The Mriga Pakshi Sastra by Hamsadeva, composed in 13th century CE, gives fascinating descriptions of animals and birds. Scope. The diversity of animal life has been well captured in ancient literature of India. The canons of Charaka and Shustrata classify animals on the basis of their habits, predatory behavior. Animals are classified on the basis of habitat into terrestrial, underground, aquatic, aerial, and marshy types. Animals are prey snatchers, that is, prashaha, peckers, which is viscera, or attackers, who are pratuda. In different texts, animals have been classified on the basis of varied criteria. Animals are reproduced sexually, that is, yonija, or asexually, ayonija. Sexual reproduction is either through eggs, which is oviparous, and or placenta, which is viviparous. The texts also speak of life emerging from moisture and heat as well as from the head vegetation. One's classification distinguishes animal by number of feet and another by presence or absence of hoofs. The Matsya Purana classifies animals on the basis of their divinity or on the basis of their activity into diurnal, nocturnal, or both. A number of animals have been described in the context of food and dietetics. The medicinal and nutritional properties of meat from a variety of animal sources have been documented in the classical text of Ayurveda. The food web and the food chain have been described, highlighting the principle that one form of life is food for another. Jivo Jivyasa Jivanam. People of ancient India lived in close proximity with nature and were keen observers of animal life. It has been mentioned in some texts that first clues regarding medicinal properties of plants can be discovered from the animal behavior. Thus, ancient Indian literature has one of the earliest documented evidence of practice of zoopharmacology, that is, discovery of medicinal use of plants by observing how animals eat specific plants and when they suffer from a disease, have a worm, or have been bitten by a snake. The text of Ayurveda also talk about confirming the toxicity of substances by administering test doses to animals, perhaps the earliest account of animal experiments in toxicology. The current status, Gaja Ayurveda is still practiced by traditional experts in states like Kerala. Veterinary herbal medicines are manufactured and marked by pharmaceutical firm in India. Biodiversity and folk tradition. The richness of biodiversity and the climatic and geographical variations were highlighted in ancient writings. Different geographical regions were described along with the cycle of 6 seasons, setting the stage for variations in biodiversity. It is mentioned in Ayurvedic texts that there is a variation of biodiversity in terms of flora and fauna as well as human life and habits over span of 12 yojanas or 96 miles. Ancient Indian estimates that there are nearly 8.4 million yonis or specific species of life on earth. This comes from strikingly close to the recent estimates of the modern scientists at 8.7 million species. Sushruta proclaims that one must hunt for the earth in bountiful everywhere. There are about 4,600 ethnic communities in India who have lived in close proximity with nature and nurtured a folk system of medicine. It is estimated that there are 1 million specialized carriers of folk medicines, outnumbering the paramedics on the payroll of the government. Thank you.